It's time now for the political analysis of Fromm and Fuller. Al Fromm, former political advisor to President Bill Clinton, and Craig Fuller, former political advisor to both Presidents Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush. Good morning, all. Craig, there's a lot to talk about this morning. And of course, we had Super Tuesday. But as a consequence of Super Tuesday, we've had the withdrawal of Nikki Haley. And in a more kind of unique circumstance, we have Mitch McConnell endorsing Donald Trump. So let's take with that section first.
Well, there is a lot to talk about. I think, Super Tuesday was not a surprise to us or to our listeners, I hope, because it ended the way it was destined to end, and that's with Trump picking up more electoral votes. And the real question was, would Nikki Haley wait a while or go ahead and suspend her campaign? She chose to suspend her campaign. And, my thinking on this is she has managed to do what I'll speak for Republican candidates have done, and that's had a pretty strong first run at this. Ronald Reagan tried 3 times before he got elected, George Bush twice, and ultimately, of course, George Bush was selected as vice president, and then he became president. But the fact of the matter is that even for a governor, the experience of running for national office is, a new and different kind of challenge. And so, I think Nikki Haley should be very pleased with what she's accomplished. I think she has captured a segment, not the majority, but a segment of the Republican Party as it exists today, and is likely to continue to be a leader in that party. I'm very pleased to see that this idea of running with the No Labels group, which people were floating, seems to have subsided. And I really think she should focus on the Republican Senate races and House races, and because she will be important in some districts and will continue to build her base. I still think that we should pay attention to the fact that a significant segment of Republican voters did not vote for Donald Trump. A significant segment of Republican voters from the past did not even show up to vote. And I believe that even though the press is reporting this great strength that's apparent from Super Tuesday, I just don't think Donald Trump's campaign is as strong as some of the pundits might suggest. So Super Tuesday is behind us. Ironically, the Republican speaker has given Joe Biden the opportunity to deliver the State of the Union tonight, which I think is going to mean that Joe Biden is going to end this week with probably more attention than perhaps either of any of the Super Tuesday candidates.
Al, it did seem like Tuesday was a good day for Donald Trump.
Well, I think what we learned from Super Tuesday is what we already knew, that this race is virtually set between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. It's a race that a lot of Americans, probably most Americans, would rather not have. I agree with Craig that Trump is not as strong as was indicated. He showed real weaknesses that were exposed by Nikki Haley. I was struck by so many of the Haley voters really being independents and Democrats. Trump operates by subtraction, and he's driven most of the moderate, more independent thinking people out of the Republican Party. So I admired Nikki Haley. I thought she was showed herself to be a good candidate. I'm not sure there's a place for her in a Republican Party until Trump's gone, but we'll see. But I think the race this time is going to really turn on 3 factors very quickly. Who defines the race? If it's a referendum on Biden, Trump probably will win. If it's a referendum on Trump, Biden will win. The State of the Union tonight is very important for Biden. The press will talk about how he needs to show vigor. to dispel the age issue. I think the most important thing for him is this is his best opportunity, maybe his last best opportunity to set a narrative that can define the campaign. I remember 1995, after Clinton suffered that terrible midterm loss, we used the State of the Union to redefine his message and set a narrative for the campaign that stuck, and it turned the whole 96 election around. The second thing is who votes. Working class voters, including non-white working class voters, seem to be moving away from Biden. College graduates are moving much more toward the Democrats. So who votes is going to be important. Democrats, ironically, because they're more non-college voters than college graduate voters, have benefited from low turnouts, which is something that always used to be the opposite. We always used to like to have the high turnouts, but now the marginal voters are voters, working class voters, who don't always come out. That's actually why you hear a lot of people say, Democrats say that don't worry about it, the polls, because when people vote, they're voting Democratic. But I would say that one of the reasons that Democrats have done better in special elections and in off-year elections is because when Trump's on the ballot, he pulls out working class voters who would not otherwise come out, and that helps Trump and the Republicans. And the final thing is third-party candidates. Third-party candidate can't win. Right now, the major third-party efforts, No Labels and RFK Jr., aren't on enough ballots to affect very much, except be a spoiler and probably help Trump. Very simply put, Trump has a high floor but a low ceiling. He has rabid voters that will come out no matter what. But as the last two elections have shown, and polling shows, his ceiling is about 47, 48%. It's not enough to win a two-way race. But Biden's vote is so soft that if there's a third choice, particularly in the swing states, it could very well throw the election to Trump. I mean, the last NBC poll said by 62-31, Biden voters were more against Trump than for Biden. What that means is if there's another anti-Trump choice, a lot of people might take it. I personally think in the recent New York Times Siena poll, where they ran Biden against both Trump and Haley. Against Haley, his vote was 35. Haley won 43-35. I think that's Biden's floor. And that's the vote I'm afraid he would get in a three-party race. I've made it clear all along for everybody here, including all my critics on Fromm and Fuller, that I think this is a race where democracy is on the line. I think we have a pro-democracy candidate, not the greatest, but a clearly pro-democracy candidate in Joe Biden. We have one who's promised to run an authoritarian, more campaign and administration based on retribution. In Donald Trump, I'd say he is much more an autocratic candidate. And I think the people need an up and down vote on democracy. I've said this before. I think there's a small pro-democracy majority in the country, but if that anti-Trump pro-democracy vote is split, we're likely to wind up with an outcome that a majority of Americans.
There is going to be a State of the Union address tonight, and many more people are going to be watching it than I think is typical. And I'm sure they're going to be interested in what Joe Biden says. But I think there's also going to be a different standard here. They're going to wonder if he can get through a significant speech without having a senior moment. I mean, there's a lot that could ride on this.
Well, you're absolutely right. There's a lot on the line. And honestly, there always is. These speeches, I've always thought, are extremely important. They're assembled over weeks, sometimes months. There's a lot of preparation. Stories are out about President Biden working on it at Camp David with a team of people all weekend long. But this speech and a State of the Union coming in the election year really does set the tone for what the incumbent president wants to focus on over the course of the campaign. And so it is a message, perhaps unlike others in the past that he's delivered as a State of the Union. And his own people are talking about it as a message where he's going to really talk to the American people. So we'll see what that means stylistically. To me, it's an opportunity for him, now that the race is down to two people, to compare and contrast the Trump record and his record, to let the American people know that he believes they'll be far better off with him as president than Trump as president. I think by style, by manner, he's comfortable in that format. He's in Congress for decades. He knows it's a place where he can go and I think comfortably deliver this speech. So I don't worry as much about the ability to perform. I think he'll probably rise to the occasion. He definitely needs to. He definitely needs to show the American people that he is ready for this fight. All the talk about the preparation suggests that. And at the end of the day, I hope the news media compares and contrasts this State of the Union speech with some of the recent commentary from Donald Trump, because without a doubt, the comparison will be remarkable. The State of the Union speech will be one in which there's a lot of substance, I'm sure a lot of focus and passion, and an articulate message, well prepared, as opposed to what Donald Trump has done. And that contrast, I believe, will move people. I actually think that the Biden people right now don't need to be all that concerned with the approval rating. Obviously, they'd like a better one. But the fact of the matter is, so far, the American people, as Al said, don't care that much for either candidate. And so, of course, you're going to get a low approval rating. What's really important is to show upward momentum. And I suspect this speech tonight is going to bump up the approval rating. If Biden can keep that going, he'll be in a much stronger position by November.
But the other thing that's really important is what Craig said, because everybody complains about Biden's age and sometimes his misstatements. But if you heard Trump over the weekend, when he couldn't finish a sentence, when he sounded at times like he was talking tongues, and all that's on tape. And so I have a feeling that a lot of the stuff in the State of the Union campaign or speech tonight will be in side-to-side ads with the Trump gibberish, because I think even though for whatever reason it's hard to get the press to focus on this in the country, but Biden may not be in the same top of his game that he would have been 20 years ago, but Trump is clearly suffering from dementia, and not only does he have positions that are just crazy and dangerous to the United States, which is why it was really important Nikki Haley stayed in the race, to point those out, but his mental condition seems to me to be rapidly deteriorating, and that's dangerous too.
Well, we have to leave it there. Al Fromm, Craig Fuller, thank you so much indeed. We will see you next week.